Go ahead, John, kick it off.
Hi, I'm John Donahue, and I'm going to go first. And I have some more or less introductory information regarding ecotourism and agritourism, and then my eminent colleagues who will follow will have more in-depth and exciting knowledge to share with you as well. So I'm a member of the New Jersey Highlands Coalition Board, and I'm the president of Three Rivers Environmental Consulting. And ecotourism is an exciting thing. I think providing opportunity for adventures from sunrise to sunset. You know, you could say my previous career was with the National Park Service, 38 years with the Park Service. You could say that the National Park Service has been in the ecotourism business since 1872, when the cavalry first marched into Yellowstone. Now, what exactly is it? According to the dictionary, ecotourism is tourism directed toward exotic, threatened natural environments intended to support conservation efforts and to observe wildlife. The principles of ecotourism are that ecotourism is about uniting conservation communities and sustainable travel, minimizing the physical, social, behavioral, or psychological impacts on the environment and on the local people, building an environmental and cultural awareness and respect, providing positive experiences for both the visitors and the hosts. What happened here? Providing financial benefits for conservation, generating financial benefits for the local people and private industry, delivering a memorable interpretive experience to visitors that helps raise sensitivity, and design, construction, and operating low-impact facilities. And finally, recognizing the rights, beliefs of the indigenous people in the community and working with them in partnership. You could say a trip to the Highlands. Agro-tourism is just an expansion of ecotourism, which encourages visitors to experience agricultural life firsthand. This could be working on a farm with farmers alongside real farmers, or wading knee-deep in the sea with fishermen hauling in their nets. Now, how does this compare to traditional tourism? International travel, for example, we might take a trip to the Louvre, we might see the Mona Lisa, we might, if we're lucky, visit the Moët Chandon winery and have a glass of champagne after we see how they make it. But in the exact same locations, today, you could have an ecotourism experience that could involve staying at the vineyard, learning about how they grow the grapes, how they make the wine, or even visiting Giverny on the other slide, where Monet created a painting, essentially, a canvas with the landscape itself. Now, agro-tourism is not really unlike what happened in our area in the 19th century, where farmers started inviting tourists to come and stay on the farms, particularly around the Delaware River. It was some of the earliest real tourism, and it was directed to a large extent at the working class people, which was also a change. Earlier, tourism was really for the wealthy only, and in the before the Industrial Revolution, only the wealthy actually took vacations. So what happened in our area in the 19th century was really groundbreaking. Oh, I went the wrong way. Traditional tourism is about museums, architecture, monuments, and fine dining. But nature and history can be an immersive experience and not just a drive-by tour. You know, staying in the ecosystem for a longer period of time and actually doing what the local people do is a great opportunity. Now, here in New Jersey, we may not have ancient cathedrals, but we do have parks. And these parks, national parks, state parks, even our local parks, these are our American cathedrals, as well as being our American backyard. And what we really do have is spectacular nature, historical towns, fun festivals, and unique events and farms that people can come and enjoy in 1,000 different ways. But the inns and hotels need to work together to create experiences about the Highlands, the history, the wildlife. I think one thing that is really important to take away from this is that this really has to be a cooperative adventure for all the businesses, all the farms, and all of the government entities as well. One thing is that people are very interested in people. Whether it's how they lived 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago. These are just some pictures of Pompeii and Rome. But when you go there, particularly a place like Pompeii, it's fascinating to find out how the people actually lived. And the fact that they mostly ate out, that they didn't have kitchens, they didn't have ovens, and mostly the people who lived there would eat out every day. And we need to build our ecotourism around our environment and our culture and the opportunities that we already have. People love to bicycle here, they love to hike here, they love to engage in photography, motorcycle riding, a million different ways that we can build tours for people. And the people themselves are an important part of the experience. I think meeting the farmer, meeting the park ranger, engaging with other people that have the same kind of interest that you do, whether it's in photography. Here's Patterson Falls in New Jersey, a very popular place now, built by Alexander Hamilton, which is a very popular story. In my visits, I had the opportunity to lead the American delegation and the international delegation to visit China during their celebration of their 25th anniversary of their national parks. Ecotourism in there is a lot about the economy. All of their parks have living towns in them, and they're extremely concerned about creating a viable economy for those people to enjoy so that the visitors can enjoy the park, but the people who live there can enjoy it as well. In Australia, meeting the first people is important, is meeting the continent. And we should be able to engage the Lenape and our first people in the opportunities that they can help teach us, our visitors, about the history and about how they live today. We want to build our experiences around living cultures within the surrounding nature and farmscapes. So my suggestions are that we would form discrete experiences, target interest groups that are interested in those experiences, make the experiences flexible, but they should be somewhat coherent. So groups and individuals will come to stay on farms, inns, hotels, delve into the life on the vineyards and orchards, visit the ghost towns, hike to scenic views, take our cuisine, local wines and brews, but we have to organize those trips. We must reach them by catering to those interests. There's abundant national parks, state parks awaiting visitors in large numbers to visit sustainably. Hiking, biking, hunting, finding mushrooms, learning about farming, or helping an historic restoration project is something that would interest large groups of people. We should work together regionally to design these custom experiences. We have everything from archaeology to zoology here. We have it all in the Highlands. And I think we need to take advantage of what we have. This is just a little sample of what a 3-day trip might involve. Day one, you arrive at the farm, the vineyard, or the inn. You enjoy a home-style meal, the local wines, the brewery tasting, and maybe take a moonlight walk led by a guide. The next day, hiking to enjoy scenic vistas of rivers, ridge and valley geology. The third day, touring ghost towns or small villages with atmosphere and dining at local pubs. And the fourth day, before you leave, take a short canoe trip, horseback ride, hay ride, before heading home, with no driving from the moment you arrive until you depart. There's no end to the combinations of resource enjoyment in our area. We just need to package it. There's the thousands of trails. We have art galleries. This is a picture of people learning about the singing bowls in an art gallery. Here's a picture of someone finding some pretty spectacular fungi in the forest. People really enjoy seeing the artwork that people do with their crafts. There's a picture of a guitar making. Some people would rather just be fishing. I understand. Some people like me really like to eat. It could even have a cooking tour. In fact, if you were to ask me about any of the places I've been in the world, I will probably tell you what I ate. There's hundreds of ways to cook tofu in China. I also think that building around seasonality, families and groups are always looking for holiday fun and adventure. And once again, build around culture and food. Who has the best prime rib, the best tofu, the best pizza? I'm pretty confident that we could easily put together a tour of pizzerias in Sussex County that would draw a large crowd. I think the road to success is there for ecotourism, but we need to cooperate. In summary, this industry requires working together rather than competing. On a regional level, identify the resources and activities. Businesses, planners, government, conservationists working together. We have to design activities and accommodations for specific time periods and specific groups, with the entities cooperating to create fulfilling experiences for the public. You should leave the Highlands with a taste for the culture, the crafts, the nature, and especially the local food and beverages. Our attractions are on a level with any international experiences. Our Native American communities can offer knowledge of our history and our present and enjoy some of the economic benefits. Our farmers, like their 19th century predecessors, can include tourism to benefit and protect the lands and waters. Part of our profits should help sustain our land, waters, and cultures. The Highlands are poised to be the alternative to casinos and water parks. These lands are not just fountains of timber and water, they are fountains of inspiration for the soul of mankind, as John Muir told us. Entrepreneurs, planners, government, advocates, creating agro-tourism together. I think that should be our mantra. Thank you.
Frank Pinto and I are going to talk a little bit about agritourism. The projects that we completed last year called Grown and Warren. The is funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Program that was designed around looking at the future of Agri-County. And I think an important watershed event because it was a point of recognition, a rather relationship with the Highlands. Their future really was and what the Highlands envisioned for the county. And so they were accepting of their rural agriculture. They're grown a big part of ways. When Frank and I took this project on, working on agricultural issues together, and it's hard.
Uh-oh, I think Ben went away.
He's coming back. There he is.
You disappeared, Ben.
There he goes.
Okay. I see that Frank and John have disappeared. Can the people in the session still hear me and see my screen? Anybody just answer.
Yes. I
Okay,
can.
good. So I'm sure they'll be back. All right. Can I collaborating on that since since 2000 when I was the mayor of Chester, agricultural program in Morris County, and Frank can fill you in on the ideas that he had back then. Visionary about the potential for and the basis for economic development. Uh, had a, that he was a proponent of trying to bring about. And over time, that vision kind of has come to reality. And so when we were asked to start to look at the industry in Warren County, as I said, it was a recognition by the freeholders that their future really didn't lie in housing developments or large-scale commercial development. And I think as they're finding out right now, don't want it to be in the warehousing and see the potential for agriculture to provide that that economic engine for them to go forward in a manner. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that came out of this study. The USDA economic development opportunities in a broad swath of the Highlands region that you can see here in this map, but basically they're areas that meet the definition of what rural is in the enabling legislation, but they have money that will go to support these types of studies. So what we looked at in the Grown and Warren study was to view agricultural as a resource and acknowledge that not just the agricultural industry itself, but that the land and the farmers themselves need to be identified as a resource, and the forests and the natural resources that make up the Highlands, and that they need to be preserved and fostered so that they can be of the region and provide the necessary economic activity that will allow the Highlands to be a viable place for people to live and work going forward. And economic viability is a big part of what we did. When you look at agritourism, John touched on a few of the things that come within that definition. But I think we all have our own ideas about what agritourism is all about. One thing that we have to be important is to look at it as a key to the economic prosperity of the farmers, because agricultural land in a place like the Highlands, and particularly in Warren County, is really a great advantage. You know, what we often say is that you can have if you have a farm in Warren County, New Jersey, you're within an hour and a half drive of over 20 million people, 8 million people in New York City, 8 million people in New Jersey, 4 million more in the Philadelphia metropolitan region. And to have that kind of marketplace at your fingertips with the buying power that the people that live there represent is an opportunity. And that, agri is a part of the long-term landscape, not just land that was waiting to be turned into a strip mall, into a housing development. And that by being able to take advantage of that farm side of that is because it creates a connection between the people that live in the more New Jersey with the Highlands itself, and they see it. We hope that they see it as the place where their water supply comes from, but we also want them to see it as a place where they can recreate, their food can come from. And if you look at the consumer trends of today, you see that people are worried about where their food is coming from, who grows it, how is it grown, and people are willing to pay a premium for food that comes from places where they know they have a connection to the person who's growing it, where they can have some confidence about the methods in which it's grown, when they know that it's relatively fresh and that it was picked just this morning or yesterday, and that it makes its way to the marketplace very quickly, and to understand that premium that market rents is an avenue to making an improved living for the farmers of the region, right? And to commodity farming that has made up, in particular, the farming landscape of Warren County, where they're growing soybeans or corn as a commodity, and to convert it into things such as fresh fruits and vegetables, specialty crops, or even fresh meats, and that will provide that kind of premium return on their effort from the looking for that specific. So when we look at agritourism, right, it's more than just the field and go through the corn maze. It's a lot of different things, right? I mean, it certainly is the farm visitation activities like Pick Your Own and the hayride, other options that you can have, and visiting the farm markets. But today it's become breweries and distilleries, and in particular breweries and distilleries that can supply their own ingredients. And I think Frank can fill us in on the work that he's doing right now with a lot of farms in this area. CSAs, community supported agriculture, where people really go into partnership with local farmers and sharing this over the course of the growing season. It's farm to table, whether it's restaurants or other food providers that are looking for local sources of particular crops that will provide both better quality food and food that they can upsell to their customers, supplying directly to restaurants and grocery stores. It's tailgate markets in places like Jersey City, where farmers have the ability to make a substantial amount of money compared to what they would otherwise be able to do back home on their home farm stand, and really provide them with a direct outlet to the consumers who are looking for their products. Run the gamut, fruits and vegetables, but also meat from those sources. So when we went through the Grown and Warren of outreach and research by the agricultural related industries, getting in touch with the emerging markets, talking to the general public and the government at all levels to try to ascertain what the capacity was to take advantage of these marketplaces. We ended up coming up with a SWOT analysis, opportunities and threats to the agricultural industry that you can see here, and what we saw that, and I'll concentrate mostly on the strengths and the opportunities, because we looked at Warren County as a tremendous threats. It has a land base of farmland, some of the best in the country, a community of experienced farmers. About short supportive communities that understand what it is to have agriculture as part of its landscape, which makes a lot of the conflicts that you see in more suburban Jersey between residents and farmers, and also make the local governing bodies understand what it takes to be successful as a farmer. We looked at the new crops, those specialty crops, those high value crops, the proximity of the markets that the farmers in Warren County really are just scratching the surface of, the ability to brand Warren County as part of the Highlands, or as part of Warren County as an identity in and of itself, to be able to raise the awareness of the area for selling their products. The demand for ethnic products. New Jersey, one of the most diverse states in the country, with you can think of an ethnic group. They're here in New Jersey, and they're looking for foods and products that are part of their culture here in New Jersey. The demand for organic produce, and of course what we're talking about here is the ability to expand agritourism and to take advantage of the opportunities that are there. We came up with a series of recommendations on how to take advantage of Warren County's place in that future market. First recommendation was to identify Warren County agricultural products as a known commodity. We looked at places like the Hudson Valley, Link, kind of provide. We wanted to capitalize on the idea of fresh and locally grown, to look at the surrounding agricultural counties of Hunterdon and Warren and Sussex County, to be able to have the county work with direct retail and wholesale outlets to promote that brand, and to license the identity of Grown in Warren, so that farmers could put it to use. If you look at that logo that in the corner of the slide, that was something that graphic artist that logos cost a licensing agreement with agricultural producers and utilize for their marketing. Our second recommendation was to create support programs for Warren County farmers, training skills, able to take advantage of these markets, to be able to come up with products with who are out, and so the own facilitate the producers and for the consumers to be able to hook up and go. To be able to expand centralized listings of markets and outlets, so that people looking to visit the identify where they can get a product that they're looking for, to a winery where they could go for apple picking or pumpkin picking, or any of the other experiences that they may be looking to go through, and to fully fund an agricultural extension position with Rutgers that would be geared towards economic development, so that they would have a ready resource to help them in developing their skills here. The other one is to look at the long-term support for Grown in Warren, not that would sit on the shelf, but to be able to provide the necessary infrastructure that for a long period of time. One of the products that came out of this study that you see there on the left-hand side of the screen was a story map that's GIS-based, that identifies the different types of available in Warren County. And if you go to the Grown, you can access this and find out. So if you wanted to go and pick Christmas trees, you would be able to find an outlet where you could make that visit and have the information on the farm readily available, hours, directions, the name of the farm, and it's available. We wanted to measurable goals so that Warren County would be able to demonstrate that this effort was well worth the investment they had made. Relevant information, time to see whether or not they were making progress. Resources such as this website, but more the personnel at the county level that can be there as an asset for the farmers in Warren County going forward. We did a prior called Grown in Monmouth, where it's a much different county, but Monmouth County also, because of its size, has a higher level of resources, and they ran with this concept in Monmouth County, where their economic development office, which Warren County really doesn't have at the level that Warren does, to promote it, and it's become important part of their economy, not just the agricultural economy, and Grown and Warren becoming that for Warren County. But they need to figure out how to bring those kinds of resources to make sure that this is moved forward. Land affordability and access to land is probably the, when we talk about these agricultural practices, we're really talking about moving away from the standard practice that most of the Warren County farmers follow today, which is commodity agriculture. And it's really the newer farmers who are more open to engaging in these innovative practices. But there's a big impediment on new practitioners coming into the marketplace. That is because of the becomes a real challenge. How do you bring these innovative practitioners into the marketplace? Finding ways to continue land preservation programs that brings down, but to look for ways that we could make partnerships between these new practitioners and existing farmers. Sometimes lease portions of the property to work their way up from 2 acres at first and occupying more and more of the time, to convert land that's gone fallow and bring it back. Farmers on their success into the new these innovative practices to, but we bring this land link into something far more localized, so that a county central.
I think we lost Ben. He's probably coming back. He was speaking to LandLink. We were working with the SADC and Rutgers, who created that site, to try and get county level pages, so that someone from Warren County can have an exact hyperlink for that.
Right,
Ben, are you back?
Our fifth recommendation had to do with educational programs to be able to train the next generation of farmers and to train them in these practices that will be part of what we believe to be the new farm economy in Warren County, in the Highlands region as a whole, to be able to put secondary school curriculum programs in, to be able to go to Warren County Community College and provide either a 2-year degree program or a gateway to a 4-year degree at one of New Jersey state schools, or a school like Delaware Valley in Pennsylvania, in partnership with a 4-year institution, to be able to formalize this as a course of study, and to provide continuing education and certification programs to existing farmers going forward would be a big part of being able to promote this. The next gen farmers coming in to look at that land match program, which I talked about before, and promote those partnerships, established farmers, to come up with sources of capital so that the investment could be made to convert current land uses into new farming practices, whether it be for the purchase of land itself, or to put the infrastructure in place that would allow new farming practices to be successful, to go through the successional and estate planning process, and to understand how that would be part of the multi-generational connections. You know, one of the, going back, I glossed over it, but it shouldn't be ignored. The climbing average age of farmers, not just in Warren County, but across states in general, should be alarming. And you have fewer into the business. We believe from the out there of aspirational farmers out there who could replace this existing generation over time and bring that average age down. But finding connections is a big part of being able to achieve. One of the other recommendations has to do with the distribution and aggregation infrastructure that just isn't there anymore. You know, as agriculture began to fade in New Jersey over the last 50 years, the infrastructure that went along with it faded away as well. The support industries that make farming possible. A lot of the processing facilities, a lot of the things like slaughterhouse and grain aggregators and distribution facilities disappeared from New Jersey's landscape because the gas to support them just wasn't there. A lot of farmers in Warren County have to transport their livestock 50 or 100 miles into Pennsylvania just to be able to have them processed. And so finding ways to bring that infrastructure back as agriculture starts to make a comeback portion of New Jersey is a big part of allowing it to be successful. If you look at the last agricultural census, for the first time in 50 years, there was more land in agricultural production this census than there was in the previous one. From 1950 through almost the present, the one constant you could depend on was that as you looked at the amount of land in production, the next census that came out, it would be fewer acres that were being tilled. Well, for the first time in that period, the agricultural census had an increase. It wasn't a tremendous increase, but it was a reversal of the trend of diminishing acres in production, and it represented the economic benefits of farming, because that's the only thing that really brings agriculture back into production. You have to be able to make a living at farming for it to be part of the future. And so it's an indicator that there's money to be made in agriculture in New Jersey, and again, in this part of New Jersey in particular. Our eighth recommendation had to do with these innovative practices to come up with support for new crops, work with the Rutgers Agricultural Extension to be able to support it, to conduct the market studies for things like alternative livestock and crop production, to support new activities. Look at the exploding market that's there in microbreweries, and that the farm-based industry can play an important role in promoting, right? That a microbrewery can tell their ingredients have been produced either on the farm where the brewery is located, from a local farm, gives them a tremendous advantage in terms of being able to, right? Because what would set one microbrewery apart from another? It's not just a local in New Jersey. If they have a story to tell, they have a marketing advantage, and to understand that, to provide the production of value-added crops. May be specifically in demand from a restaurant or grocery store. Training for certifications such as organic farming, or for GAP food safety certifications that are necessary for a farm to trace the origins of their food. They can be offered larger retail outlets like those food safety regulations are often an impediment to a local farmer being able to sell their product, and they can be in terms of the clerical demands that they put on them. Support beginning farmers to give them the training and the technical assistance necessary to understand what they have to do to be able to be successful, and to support the creation of commercial kitchens where local products can be converted into value-added products such as barbecue sauces or tomato sauces or anything that's going to be offered for mass consumer consumption that has to be produced in the sanitary and controlled atmosphere that a commercial kitchen can provide. And look at the role that this all-encompassing that agri-tourism visits county to do things like establish Warren County farm tours, to look at things that they do, the tour de farm that they offer on an annual basis, where they're defined route where bicyclists can bike from farm to farm, and sandrums that each farm has along the way, but to put that more into a self-guided tour that visitors to the county who want for the multi-day stays that John in his presentation, that of visitation can be part of the future. To bed and breakfast, one of the things that really is a drawback right now is the lack of accommodations throughout Warren County. The bed and breakfast, there are very few hotels that are available to host visitor. We concentrated a lot on people who live in Hudson and Essex and Bergen County, an hour away, or even New York City, again, or even a train ride away from being able to visit Warren County. But to be able to extend those stays and multi-purpose stays where hiking, fishing, golfing, kayaking, visiting wineries and restaurants become part of a multi to the county, and has the agri-tourism as the centerpiece of that multi. We want farmers to go into the modern farming practices and away from commodity production to be able to support this entire concept of how you bring people to Warren County through the agricultural industry, right? To look at the values, to promote solutions, cooperative marketing and CSAs, to identify where the niche products are going to be, to look at how they can encourage their presence at high traffic farm markets in the urban areas, right? From northwestern New Jersey who travel to Jersey City or to New York City on a daily basis during the growing season are realizing daily sales in the $5,000 to $15,000 per day range, right? And that's just something that simply is not achievable from an on-farm market, but that certainly demonstrates the profitability of growing the food products that the consumer market is looking for, and that can be easily translated into a business model that shows how this is a lucrative pursuit, and how agriculture in the Highlands region as a whole, and in Warren County in particular, has a bright economic future, right? Because that's really what it comes down to, right? It's not about you can't preserve agricultural land alone. You have to preserve the farmer as a viable economic concern, and agricultural as an industry as a whole, because it's not just land alone. Land is an important part of the agricultural future of the county, but you've got to preserve the farmer and farming along with it. Right? So Frank, you disappeared from my screen, which is why I kept going. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me?
Frank?
I'm there. I'm just wondering if you can hear me. No. All right. All right. I'm
Good.
being
I
heard.
can't hear you, Frank.
I can hear you both.
I am being heard by others. So everybody's hearing both of us, Ben, but you're not hearing me for some reason. But we're getting some
Okay.
questions in that hopefully I can start giving some answers towards. There was the question about B&Bs, and now Airbnb is being replacing that, which is excellent, really, for increasing opportunities of ecotourism in the region. One overriding comment I just wanted to think about was the way New Jersey and tourism is done. It's really through the hotel tax, and the state of New Jersey has put virtually all of those monies towards promoting Atlantic City. I think when you're talking with your local legislators, let them know that their hotel monies from their counties are going to really fund the promotion of Atlantic City presently. A lot of counties do have local tourism boards, and that is the means of getting that hotel tax monies brought back to those counties. They are eligible to provide to submit grants to receive those fundings. When I was in Morris County government, I had the opportunity to get the tourism director to see a presentation we had put on to promote Southwest Morris County from an ecotourism perspective. We showed her all the historic resources in Morristown. We showed her all the historic and farm sites along the way through Mendham, Chester, and into Long Valley. And there's no reason that whole concept, which, by the way, that stretch was parts of it were called the Washington Turnpike, because that was really where Washington led his troops. So there's so many opportunities from an historic preservation perspective to draw people out into this region. And I'm seeing questions about how can we get involved. One of the things that I think would be an appropriate measure to take is a to ecotourism. The Highlands is obviously the right level and size to do that. We've been working, Ben and I, on different plans for Byram Township. I see Scott Olson in the group to do a basically an ecotourism marketing plan. Part of that is also a trail plan. The amount of trails that are in the region that people come out to enjoy is tremendous. But there's certainly a lot more that could be done. You really can start to see opportunities for fishing type outings and cycling types of outings, both on road and off road. So there needs to be some form of a coordinated effort, likely throughout the counties, through county governments, but maybe there's through one of the existing nonprofits. I don't know necessarily if the Musconetcong Watershed Association is appropriate. It's not really part of their mission, but there's likely a way to develop that initiative, maybe outside of government. That's a few of the comments that I wanted to say, and maybe we can start answering some more questions that are coming up in the chat.
Frank, did you talk about the work you're doing with farms on producing ingredients for microbreweries?
I did not. So yeah, let me speak to that a little bit. The end product will be ecotourism, agri-tourism benefits. But I've got a few clients that I'm working with that are proposing on preserved farmland to establish breweries and distilleries. The requirements under the farmland deeds of easement are such that they must grow or produce a majority of the ingredients that go into it. So when you think about it, it's very similar to a vineyard having a winery and producing wine, or someone doing a value-added product like jams and jellies. It's just, in this case, it's an alcoholic product, which is using the Highlands water. So the primary ingredient that the farmers need to address is malt. They have to grow barley to produce malt. So as long as they can do that, which you'd be surprised the yields that you can get, you could effectively support a brewery on about 8 to 10 acres of barley production per year. So if you had as much or as little as 20 tillable acres, you could support the needs of a brewery and meet that definition. So when you think about that, that's a whole nother avenue for agritourism potential. I know I've heard of, I don't know the name of it, but there is a company that has basically just like an Uber service that will do a tour for guests among the local breweries from Hackettstown to Long Valley. So, you know, there's certainly a good chance there that opportunity can grow throughout the region into Hunterdon and Warren and Sussex as more of the breweries pop up.
Not to mention that pumpkin picking is a lot more enjoyable activity after you've had a beer or two. Or
a beer is much more enjoyable on a farm where you've done that. Yeah. But there's certainly, I think, put it this way: if you're going into the brewery business and you're located in a strip mall, you damn well better have good beer. Who's going to want to go there? If you're on a farm, you could have marginal beer and people will still come out because it's such a beautiful setting. So, and then if you have good beer, you've got a home run there. So in that regard, it's a little bit of a less risky venture doing it on a farm, but you still got to grow the crops, and you could have bad years and not have enough product to keep up with demand. I think that's really where some of the issues we'll see down the future. I'm trying
Frank,
to think.
I'd like to jump in and just read some of the questions out as they've been coming in for you.
Yeah, good.
Here's one that came in, and it actually jumps right off of that beer remark you just made. Someone asked that you explain the exceptional access the Highlands has to massive markets in New York and New Jersey that present opportunities to farmers, and the demand for ethnically and geographically authentic produce. But are you aware of any organization working to streamline the region and match demand with potential growers, like the Regional Food Hub? And could you or anybody else speak to that subject at all?
Yeah, certainly. And the answer is yes. The Foodshed Alliance has a couple of studies done that are looking at the regional food network and the need for a food hub. What we found through our interviews in Warren County and in speaking with the Foodshed Alliance is that the farmers have a real need for getting their product off of their farm and sold off-site. Ben mentioned the profitability that's there for farmers if they can get into a tailgate farmers market in an urban setting. The problem is you can't get in. The folks that are in, they're not giving up their spots because they're making huge bucks off of them. That is, compared to CSAs, they do way better at a tailgate market. So there is a need, and there's definitely a market if you can brand your product from a local region and utilize the services of some type of cooperative food hub that will process, package, and market your product. So that there's definitely an effort there. How that forms is, I'm not exactly sure. There is an interesting company that's new to the area, a private company called Nutrition for Longevity. And they have a farm on top of Schooley's Mountain in Long Valley, Washington Township, Morris County. They're going national very soon. And I could see them becoming a food hub for local growers. And that might be a means to get the farmer product in the western part of New Jersey to the east. There's certainly massive opportunities, unlike other parts of the country, to tap a market within 2 hours drive. So hopefully that answers the question, Zach.
And
Yeah,
not just
very
that,
good.
Frank, the other thing too, it keeps the farmers, a lot of them can't afford the time off the farm.
Right.
To get, they have to make a big investment in hiring to staff those tailgate markets.
Yeah, absolutely right. We probably have about time for one more question. So I'll try to paraphrase a bit here, but you spoke at the beginning about the differences between typical tourism and agro-tourism. We know what a significant driver economic tourism can be to states and municipalities. And we've seen cooperation between governments and resorts and other destinations. Are you aware of similar support or collaboration with eco-agro destinations? What would be the role of the state or local governments in this eco-agro tourism industry?
Ben, you want to take that?
Yeah, well, if you look at the government, is rarely the answer for these type of things. First of all, farmers are very suspicious of government involvement in almost anything. There are lots of examples of regional cooperatives like Lancaster Fresh or the Hudson Valley, where they promote the entire. It's not just they're not just food aggregators, but they're promoters and marketers of the region as a brand, and so that's really where I think either the Highlands or Warren County on its own. I would tend to think it would have to be more. I would tend to think it would be the Highlands as a region would be the best way to do it. But you've got to come together and have some central entity, whether it's farmer funded, whether it's a private public partnership with the government and farmers, but to create some entity that will be able to create that brand and promote it for the consumer market.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. So with that, thank you, gentlemen.
Zach.
Go ahead, John.
It's just one of our goals is obviously land and water protection, and there's nobody who's able to or more invested in protecting any kind of large public lands or private lands than the local people. They are the best protectors, but they have to feel invested. They have to feel that those lands are offering them something. And that's why it's really critical that the economic development includes the local people, and so that they can see that interest coming back to them in many different ways. And a lot of times where government falls short, we toured Haiti at one point looking at economic ecotourism opportunities. But as a government, you can't tell people, don't go into the forest and cut wood to keep warm. You should freeze to death. Or don't take a deer when you're eating dirt twice a day to keep your belly full. So you always have to make sure the local people are invested, and they will make sure that those lands, those farms, those waters are protected.
That's an excellent addition. Thank you for that, John. It's important. Sorry, I've got two things happening here. Gentlemen, thank you for this presentation this afternoon. Julie and Elliot would like to make a couple of closing remarks over on the main stage. So if we make our way over there, thank you once again, guys. And I'll see you on the main stage. Thank you.
Take care.